This is actually going to be part one of a two-part series. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Fashion Design with Hannah. As I was recreating my favorite jacket, I realized that not many people are probably familiar with the process of creating a mock-up, let alone a muslin mock-up for something that they want to create. When I was in high school, I took a fashion class and none of that was ever mentioned. And it's actually really helpful. I only learned about it once I went to study at FIT. So I decided to create a video that would actually help explain all the great tips and tricks for how to put one together and make it useful for you. So all the fitting and the adjustments afterwards that come from it. And before we get started, go ahead and smash that like button and hit subscribe if you aren't already. Now let's get into it. As with any sewing project, you're going to want to make sure that all of your notches are marked and cut. That way you can line them up as you pin them together. We're going to start with the front. So I have my princess panel and my front panel as well. Go ahead and pin the notches together first, then pin to the middle between the notches until you have a comfortable amount of pins. Once you have it all pinned, make sure you sew in the same direction for both panels. Not one way, one the opposite way, or else the grains will start to shift and then your fit is off. This may look a little odd since it's a little further past the other seam allowance, but once you turn it over, you can then see that it's a part of the shape of the armhole. The back is the same story as far as the princess seam goes, it just now only has 3 pieces instead of 4. And once we have it all together, we can go ahead and do the pleating. Of course, because this piece is big, you can always do the pleating beforehand, especially if you have a space issue, or you just prefer to do it first, which I think I might do this time. With the tiny pleats pinned, you can go ahead and do a little basting stitch across and then add on the princess panels. Here's what the pleats look like basted. Of course, with this extra curve around here, you can help ease it in so that way it lays flat by notching out triangles in the seam allowance. If you don't do it, it's fine, it just doesn't look as clean. Since this is the muslin, maybe you don't want to cut out just yet, but you should do it with the actual fabric. So with our back together and our front pieces together, we can go ahead and pin them down and sew them along at the side seam. So I actually got really excited and forgot about my back yoke piece, so I'm going to add that on and have so much fun doing so. Obviously you do that after you've done the pleats if you have some in your style, or else you won't be able to sew them. So now I officially have the back piece done, so we can go ahead and connect the front and back at the shoulder seams, and then we'll move on to the sleeves. And with our huge vest coming together, I would now suggest doing a stay stitch along the neckline edge. You could bring it all the way down if you would like. It's just to help keep the fabric about the same size as what it is, because it will stretch with construction. You could have actually done this in the beginning if you wanted to. I kind of like doing it when the neckline is actually together though. This could also be your chance to have things look a little bit neater by pressing these open. Just a finger press, you don't actually have to go to the iron if you don't want to. Then you can pin the seam allowance down and you can stitch along. If you would like to, you can do this along the armhole as well, as this will start to stretch too. And ta-da, all stay stitched down. So now we can move on to doing the sleeves and attaching the collar. As a reminder for our sleeves, we have 2 parts. There's the overarm and the underarm. So the underarm is the smaller panel, and the overarm is the bigger panel. So these ones are actually going to be 2-piece sleeves, which is kind of a classic sleeve. Now you might be saying, once you have separated the pattern piece from the fabric, how do you know which side goes where? This is just an odd shape. Well, you can pin it down and fold it over and see that it completes the natural shape of a sleeve. Or you mark the notches. As I like to say, notches save your sanity. So I have 2 matching double notches. I put double notches for the back and single notches for the front of things, so I always know which side goes where. And on the pattern, my double notches look like this and my single notches look like that. It's that simple, and it really helps you out a lot, especially if you end up doing this very rushed or very late at night. Now, just like the armhole, the top of the sleeve will need a stay stitch as well, so you can go ahead and add that. And of course, make sure that you are sewing 2 opposite sleeves and not 2 the same sleeves. You will not have fun trying it on if they are the same sleeve. As you can see, I now have the underarm sewn onto the overarm. However, I kind of forgot to do the basting stitch, but you can still do that after it as well. It's just a little bit more annoying. So you're going to sew a basting stitch still within the seam allowance from this first notch over here and all the way back to here, which is where my second notch was. So the second row of stitching that's on the inside part of the sleeve, that is the basting stitch that I added, so that way I can get a little bit of a nice shape at the sleeve cap up here. So I did that between the front notch and what would have been the back notch, which is where my back seam is at for the underarm. And I'm just going to pull on this slightly to just give it a little bit of shape up here. I am not going to be doing a true gathering like that's traditional tailoring because it actually kind of ages the piece. So in order to do that, we just hold on to this thread, pull it a little bit, and then move along the fullness. Again, you don't want to do too much, so you just want to get a nice light shape. So you see that shape starting to form right there. It is not going to be a true gathering. We don't want to see actual like true divots here. So we're just going to kind of ease it out. And then once you're all done, you can have it look a little like this. You see how it has that slight shape. It's nice for the shoulder movement. And it looks more modern than a gathered sleeve cap. So just make it a little bit nicer for wearing the sleeve. So once you have that all settled, you can go ahead and add this to the body. And I just want to say, if you can't do this and attach it to the jacket body, then you don't have enough sleeve caps. You're going to have to add in some height and a little bit of width. And if you have too much and you have true gathering, then you're going to have to reduce it a little bit. Just shave off the top a little bit, but also make sure that you have enough length going down to the rest of the cuff. Just a general note, you'll want your pins to be on the inside part of the sleeve when you're pinning, so that way you can sew from the inside out like this. So you have the needle hitting this part, not the outside, because you're easing stuff in. So it will be a lot easier if you do that versus trying to sew down with the needle like this. Also, this is about the right amount of ease, so you'll want your sleeve to look like this. However, the only thing is that with my jacket, when I was holding it up to show the stay stitch, I just have some suspicions that it looked a little small. And I know I made it bigger than my original jacket, so yes, I did increase the size. However, I don't feel like it's enough, so we'll see when I actually try it on. But once you have this looking all nice and eased in beautifully, you can go ahead and sew in. If your basting stitch is kind of visible from the outside, no worries. It's just the basting stitch. You can easily remove it, or you can leave it in because it's the muslin. But on your actual garment, you will remove it if it's visible. Alright, so as you can see, I did manage to make this pretty smooth on the cap, which I am pretty proud of. There's only one area up here that's a little bit meh for me. Professor might ding me for that, but I don't think anyone in real life would. So that's pretty much done for that. Moving on to the top collar, Remember, I am going to make the undercollar, aka the other collar piece, if I like this shape, which who knows if I will once I actually put it on. Hopefully I will. Notches are extremely important for the collar, so definitely be sure to mark your center back, where the front and body shoulder seams are, and then on the actual body piece, mark where the edge of the collar will be. So that way, even if your neckline has stretched out, you'll still be able to place it appropriately and seam it together. Now, as far as sewing this, you'll probably want the needle to be going in on the body side with the collar side underneath. And then always make sure that your seams are open along the shoulder seam. And you can go ahead and sew. And just like that, we have a collar. So I officially have the jacket body done, but I still need to add pockets and do the belt and belt tabs. I'm getting so eager to just finish this. I'm actually going to stop the video right here as a part 1 in a 2-part video, and the second part is going to be posted on my Facebook and Instagram as a thank you to all of the people who follow both of my accounts. You guys are wonderful, and I love seeing your reactions and comments to my videos there as well. I'll be posting that soon, so be sure to follow either one, and I have links in the description down below. So thank you all for watching, and as always, take care, and I'll be seeing you here in the next video. Bye! Alright, so then we'll go ahead and try on the muslin. I'm putting on the lab coat. Like this collar shape.